I'm like David Gandy that turns up from like if you order on Wish,
like a BTEC David Gandy.
If you order David Gandy on Wish, I turn
yeah,
up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the show. I am delighted to have as my guest today Paul Kelbie, recruitment legend, social media sensation.
Mate, I'll make sure you send your invoice over to me for this.
Social media sensation and devilishly handsome man, I must say. I'll give you that,
Thank you very
mate.
much.
So I'm really looking forward to hearing about Paul's journey. Started out in recruitment, a long career in recruitment, how he has gone mad on Instagram in the last 18 months or so. But then really interestingly about his new business he's about to launch and what that's all about. So Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So look, we start every episode with the same structure, which is what we call the two beginnings. So I guess the first beginning is about you and where it all began for you. And then the second beginning is really about how and why you decided to start your own company. But this is not your first rodeo.
No.
So we'll maybe look at that in a bit more detail. But I guess for the benefit of Melissa's and me, since we don't know each other that well, where did it all begin?
Fine. How far do you want to go back?
Why don't you take us back to the beginning? Where are the Kelbies from?
So I grew up in a place called Bishop Stortford.
Okay, I know it. Yeah.
And
Hertfordshire?
In Hertfordshire,
near
yeah.
Stansted Airport.
Right next to Stansted Airport, yeah. Border of Essex and Hertfordshire. So after school, quickly realised I was all right at school, but
right. Didn't love it though.
But didn't love school, and I think I went to sixth form for 2 weeks, and because they said that they'll treat you more like an adult, but within 2 weeks I realised that they weren't treating you like an adult at all. And then I actually got into football coaching.
Okay.
And do you know what? I was talking to someone about this recently. It's the best job I've ever had because I was coaching 5-year-olds to 9-year-olds. And yeah, apart from the money, it was the most fulfilling job that I think I've had. And it's kind of led me on that way of trying to, I don't know, coach people, help people, that sort of thing. So yeah, I was in a band as well for
a band?
Yeah, I was in a band.
Frontman, surely?
No, my brother was the front man, and I was like a side, not like a Bez.
I was going to say like Bez from the Happy Mondays.
More like Mike Skinner from the streets, sort of like talking, sort of.
A little bit of rapping,
that
spoken
sort of
word.
Yeah. So I did that for a few years. And I did like some modelling as well on the side, which I was doing fitness modelling as well. But again, unless you're going to be the next top person,
Gandy
I'm like David Gandy that turns up from
like
if you order on Wish,
like a BTEC David Gandy.
If you order David Gandy on Wish, I turn up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I started looking at other things, and that's where a good friend of mine, Dan Green, he had just got into recruitment. He had sales experience, I didn't, but what I was good at, I'd always been a good networker.
Right.
And so I started looking at recruitment. He'd said about it, and he actually introduced me to the guys that placed me. So Ashley Lawrence, who
I know Ashley
from Trenovo Group. He had a rec to rec beforehand called Strategic Move. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
And Paul Bogle Ferron. I met with them, and straight away they really liked me, and they said, right, we'll place you, but in 6 months we'll hire you, basically. And I was like, that was more appealing to me because I didn't want to work for a big company for long, and I didn't. I worked for a company called Hamilton Blake. I don't know if you remember those guys.
Do you remember
part of Huntress.
Right, okay.
Worked for them for 6 months. No, less. Yeah, 6 months. And then I was like, I want to get out of here. And it had it in the back of my mind the whole time that the boys had said, yeah, when you've had 6 months experience, you come and work for us. So I said, right, I was the top billing rookie out of everyone that joined when I joined Huntress. But I just wasn't excited about the market. It was tech. I was doing open source development.
Right. This was when? Probably mid-2000s?
No, 2010.
2010. So just after the financial crash as well.
Yeah.
So tough market, I imagine.
Yeah. And so I said to them, like, I'm ready now. And they went, oh, no, we're not ready. So so I think that day I was like, right, oh, okay. I went and contacted one of their competitors. And I think Ash found out within half a day.
Right.
And he was like, right, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He was like, come and meet us tomorrow. And then, they offered me a job the next day, and I started with them. I was there. So I moved into Rec to Rec, which I absolutely loved. It was talking to people more like me rather than techies and stuff like that. And then was there top biller for 2 years. And then the two owners decided to go their own way, which is when Ash then went into Trusting Soda. Yeah. And I started Madison Warner.
Okay.
And built that from me on my own to 12 of us at one point, with offices in London, offices in Manchester, placing people all over the world, having a really good time.
Making money?
Making money. It was before kids came along as well, so making double the money. And things were great. I reckon when things started changing for me, because obviously when you get into recruitment, like the thing is, I just want to make six figures, do you know what I mean, as quick as possible. And your drivers change as you kind of further your career, and things start happening in your own life, like having kids for me, like being financially driven. I think I'll always be financially driven, but when kids come along, a lot started changing for me, basically. And I was leaving my house before my kid Leo was up, and getting back when he was about to go to bed. And there was something just missing about that kind of made me start looking outside of recruitment for things to do, and that I could maybe pivot. And because I had a team of people working for me anyway, I could afford to do that. So like 2018, when I had my little boy, after that, I started losing focus on recruitment personally, but obviously running a business where I was trying to maintain them staying focused, which was hard because they could see that I probably wasn't as focused. And when you've got your own business, you need to be leading from the front. And I don't know, something wasn't clicking. And then I think I started a watch competition business, because I thought I had the network. Yeah. But the network was fine. It was the Facebook ads and stuff like that were just like, the costs were just so high. Yeah. Plus they were so strict around, is it gambling? Is it not gambling? Yeah. And it was just too much.
So this is like buy a ticket,
buy a ticket, answer a question.
Omaze, they do
that sort of
that
thing.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, with watches. It didn't work out. Put quite a bit of money into that, but it didn't work out. But I learned a lot. It kind of brought out a more creative side to me, and like a marketing side to me, which I really did like. Fast forward to 2020, we all know what happened in 2020 with the pandemic, and I was one of these people that thought, this will be over in a few weeks, so let's just ride it out. And 4 weeks went past, 8 weeks went past, and the market, as you probably remember, like everyone was getting rid of recruiters. Yeah. Everyone was cutting back, and I had a team of 10 at the time working for me with nothing to do.
And you were on your own. You're the only founder, no co-founder.
I had a business partner who was up in Manchester, but we reduced his office down to just him and one other. And then we eventually reduced it down to just me and one other. But it wasn't going anywhere.
And did you know that you'd lost your love for it at that point?
I had, definitely.
Do you think you were just going through the motions, but knowing that it's probably the final chapter?
I think so. And I want to look back at 2020 and hopefully in 5 years from now and say 2020, I'm so glad that it happened, basically, even though I've been the most skint I've ever been since then. Yeah. Because, we were doing, between 10 of us, we were doing anywhere between 80 and 140K a month. Right. But so I want to look back at 2020 and go, I'm glad that happened because it forced me to pivot. Yeah. Which I'm sure it did with a hell of a lot of people as well. So eventually I shut down Madison Warner. All the guys went off and got jobs and started their own businesses, which is fantastic. And then I started Kelb's Co., which Kelb's Co., I didn't want to just be known as a recruiter, basically. Right. But during the pandemic, I looked at what was going on and I was like, right, what's going to bounce back here that I can get involved in that's something I'm a bit more passionate about as well. And And that's when I stumbled across travel, and everyone was like, "Why are you starting a travel business
in the middle of a global
in the middle
pandemic?
of a global pandemic?" But people that will realise that if you had money, you were still travelling, basically. Yeah. And so I started this like travel networking, like where you sign up to a business. It's like 500 quid a year, and then you essentially become an independent travel agent.
Right.
I literally really only started it because when you become a travel agent, you get travel agent rates on your own holidays, right? And so I was like, at the time, I was like, I love going on 4 or 5 holidays a year.
Yeah.
So even if I was to save 10% on these holidays,
it's worth it. Yeah.
It's going to be worth it. It cost me 500 quid a year to have this license, basically. Yeah. But then it had like a network marketing model to it. So you could sell travel and earn commission, but you could also refer other people to join.
Yeah.
And you get paid bonuses for how big your team gets, basically. And because I had recruitment experience, I found it quite easy to sell it to people. And I wasn't selling it to people that, I was selling it to people that were quite clued up anyway, like small business owners. I was like, look, it's more beneficial for you to have this than not have it.
Yeah.
So that went well. And I grew I've grown a team now to like 600 people underneath me, which is their own business, but I get like a
rev share.
a passive payment every single month for every single person underneath me, which is enough to keep the lights on, but allows me to focus on other things without stressing too much that I say like the lights are going to go out. But
so there's like a theme here of like a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I get the impression you would find it quite hard to go and work in a big business for someone.
Massively.
Is that where do you get that from? Do you think?
My dad was my dad worked for himself, and me, my brother, and my sister, we all work for ourselves. So it's clear to see that it's obviously come from somewhere. We either don't like authority, or we see that there's so much more benefits to potentially having your own. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It's not for everyone. It isn't for everyone. And I think social media right now is playing this game of go and start your own business. It's great. And look, anyone can go and start their own business. It's not hard to start a business.
Yes.
But I think that a lot of this social media, they're saying start a business. Yeah, you work for yourself. And having a business is one thing, but having a profitable business is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was speaking to, so this was very early on in the pandemic. Darren Rosenfeld from Next Ventures, he called me up. We're quite close, and he was like, "What are you going to do?" Like, because we had like every couple of weeks we'd have a catch up. He's like, "You all right? Like, you're going to be okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've just started this travel business. Don't know what I'm going to do with it though." He was like, "Well, look, I'm going to I've booked my flights to Mykonos. I need a villa for 2 weeks." And he went, "Oh, in fact, I found the villa I want, but it's too much. It was like 19,000 euros on Airbnb." So he sent me it, and being quite resourceful from my recruitment days, I was like, right, leave it with me. And I managed to find the owner of this villa off of Airbnb. Yeah. He was like he owned a shipping business in Greece, and reached out to him and said, "Look, I've got someone here that wants 2 weeks in your villa." And he was like, "Oh, it's already rented out for a week." And I was like, "Mate, this is the pandemic. Like, you don't know if there's going to be another booking here. Like, this is 2 weeks." And he came back to me and he was like, "Right, let's do it." And I think I saved Darren $4,000, and I made 1,500 quid, which took me half a day to put together. And I was like, all right, there's something in this. Yeah. Travel's very easy to sell if you've got a network, because gone are the days of like sitting down with a travel agent and going, right, I've got 2 weeks off. I want to be this close to the beach. I want to this, and this. Everyone knows where they want to go really now because of social media and TripAdvisor and stuff like that. So I was like, right, okay, I've got a decent network. I can plug travel straight in. And that's when when the world opened up again, I then went back to my recruitment clients. I was like, look, I can place your staff, but I can also book your sales incentive trips as well. Yeah, when the US opened, I had a lot of people straight away. I was like, right, we want to get to Vegas because they've been restricted from going to Vegas for a couple of years, and it's like a sales incentive haven for recruiters, right? Which is where I met my business partner, James, who owns a company called London to Vegas, which I'm sure a few of your listeners have probably used his services before. Yeah. And anyway, he's a British guy. He'd spoken to a few of his recruitment friends about me, and we started working together, and like I was sending him clients and he would obviously give me a little bit of commission off the back of it. And then he was like, look, I'm back in London, let's have a chat. And I think we met for breakfast in the Bluebird in Chelsea, and I think within half an hour we were like, we've got to work together. We had similar backgrounds, like both our dads passed away sadly when we were 19 and 20. Both never really worked for anyone. And we just clicked. And he said, look, I want to come back from Vegas. I've been out there for 12 years now. Vegas probably isn't the sort of place that you want to build a family or anything like that. And he said, let's do what you're doing and what I'm doing in Vegas, but focus more on Europe. So your Mykonos, your Ibizas. And so he could come back here a lot more. So we did that for about a year and a half, booked some really good incentives for people, but we just quickly realized, look, we're just going to be very hands-on here. We're going to be glorified travel agents.
Doesn't really scale that easily.
Doesn't really scale that easily. And plus, if you've got people trying to queue up to get into a club in Vegas and it's midnight there, it's going to be 8 o'clock in the morning.
And they're phoning you, go, what's going on?
What's going on, exactly.
Do you think, was it a bit, like quintessentially, was that kind of the vision, like a concierge type thing? Or was it just travel focused?
Just travel focused, really.
Yeah.
But with a focus on sales companies.
Yeah. And at this stage, you're married with kids. You're married with a family. You doesn't sound like you've totally found the thing. What's your mindset at this point? Are you like, all right, this is okay for now, but I need to find my lane? Or are you just like, I'll just see how it goes?
Yeah. So I've been very close with Joe Wicks for about 11 years now. There's a reason I'm going into this story, but I did Joe's training plan when Joe had about 5,000 followers, basically.
Right. Was this when he was doing his like boot camp
Lean
thing?
in 15 he was doing, and this was back in 2014, and I loved it. And I'd never seen a PT like him before, basically, and he was chucking bags of rice across his living room into the microwave and stuff like this. He just had a bit about him, and I remember messaging him saying, look, I'll sign up to your 90-day plan, but I want to meet you. Right. And he came and met me that day.
But he wasn't this global megastar at this point.
No.
Because he is proper famous.
Yeah. So we both started our businesses around the same sort of time, 2013. Right. And this was January, February 2014. And he came and met me. We got on really well, and we've just stayed close ever since. But really over the pandemic, we got really close. And he basically said, look, I'll be your sounding board for any ideas that you've got, but it sounds like you need to find something more purposeful to you now. And once you do, you've got the character to take you through to make money off of it. Like the money will be the byproduct, basically. But find your purpose, because when you find something purposeful that strikes a chord, then the money will follow afterwards. And so I was trying to work out what it was. And eventually I was like, right, we've got all these companies that we speak to that say that travel is like the main thing that their employees talk about. Like it's the biggest expense for them every single year that they like to do, rather than like your council tax bill.
Yeah, you don't have to do it, but they want to do it.
Yeah. And so we started looking at the market and saying, right, you've got companies that are giving gym subscriptions for their employees. You've got life insurance and health insurance, and all these other perk discount platforms. And we were like, there's nobody, apart from the odd company that will give you like a 5% discount at booking.com or something like that. There's nobody really here focusing on travel as like or travel discounts as a benefit.
Got it.
But travel is... it's what people go to work to be able to do 2 or 3 times, hopefully, a year. Sometimes it's once a year, but it's what they go to work to be able to do. And it's their biggest expense every single year. So I've seen the behind the scenes of travel and how much companies are earning in travel commission. And so we was like, right, you've got companies like Gympass and ULife and Vitality, which Gympass, they're going into companies and they will say, right, you've got 200 staff, we'll charge you, the employer, £5 per employee a month. and then the employee picks what subscription they want, which is great. Like Gym Pass have got an audience of 10 million people, but only 2 million people are gym people. So that's an 80% waste, right? It's an 80% slippage that, I don't know, if I was an employer, I'd be looking at this going,
how can we service the other 80%, right?
And then you've got life insurance and health insurance providers that there's a bit of a negative connotation with it. Do you know what I mean? Because yes, like life insurance and health insurance are amazing. Well, not even nice to haves now. They're kind of like a have to have, right? For companies and their employees. But like I say, if you use it, you're either dying or you're injured or you're sick. So we looked at those and was like, right, we'll travel. Like every person's CV that I'd ever seen, hobbies, travel. Like, do you know what I mean? Everyone is saying travel.
Yeah.
And so we looked at it and was like, oh, let's do a subscription model with, we give companies access to our platform. We cut out pretty much most of the commission, but we charge a small subscription fee per employee, which was great. But then we were like, right, people are just going to forget about us. We'll become another platform that people forget that they've got, don't even know that they have. How can we try and get people tapping in daily to this idea? Because otherwise we'll just be an app that they never open. And that's when, like, I'm very much into my fitness, have been pretty much for the last 25 years. And we were like, right, well, there's no one tying travel and fitness here together. But so let's reward people, I suppose, like the Vitality sort of model, but the main product is something that is big enough to incentivize them to achieve. The idea is the fitter and healthier you are, and it's not just steps or running. It could be, we're going to have like brain games in there. We're going to have guided meditations, breathwork sessions, journaling. Like you get rewarded points for doing these daily challenges, basically. Right. And then with these points, you can then use them against travel bookings to redeem discounts, basically.
Great, yeah.
So it's a win-win for everyone. People are getting fitter and healthier. Yeah. And for the employers, they're getting healthier staff, happier staff that are saving money on their holidays and travel. And hopefully, obviously, the healthier and happier they are, the more productive they'll be, which hopefully you'd like to think would affect like top line sales or whatever your business is, right?
We'll come back to Incentifi in a minute because there's lots I want to ask you. But the thing that I'm interested to talk about is your Instagram explosion.
I wouldn't say explosion.
Mate, it's an explosion for me. I've got 75 followers.
Right, fine.
I'm starting though.
You're starting the journey.
So I discovered you on Instagram, right? And I started following you, and I loved the tone of voice, the content appealed to me. You're a bit younger than me, but not much younger than me, you know. And I kept thinking, so the mental story I used to play out is, you know, put on quite a bit of weight in my late 30s, early 40s. I was like, yeah, but I've got young kids. I was like, yeah, but he's got young kids. I was like, yeah, but I'm starting my own company. I was like, but he's starting his own company. Yeah. I said, shit. I was
running out of excuses.
All of these excuses aren't landing anymore. Yeah. So I'd love to just talk about that, because look, you know, I obviously have spent quite a bit of time in the last couple of years trying to build my personal brand on LinkedIn, which is where my audience lives, right? And so I've been stunned really at how potent it is. To give you an example, we are 3 times more likely to close a deal where the lead comes directly through my channel than if it's maybe an outbound sales call. So the commercial mechanics of it are undeniable. But most people still find it, I can't do it, whatever. Tell me about your story.
Yeah, so you said at the start there over the last 18 months that it's blown up. It's not, it's over the last 6 months that it's blown up. So on LinkedIn, when I was active on LinkedIn, I'd got quite a lot of traction. And I was like, right, how come I can get 25,000 connections on LinkedIn, but my Instagram is like 2,000, 3,000, which I'd built up over 10 years. I used to be a one post every couple of months kind of person.
Right.
And, but then when I got into the travel side of things, like I said, part of that business model is like a network marketing, and that is kind of where I suppose for people our age, mate, jumping on in front of camera isn't like kids nowadays. It's very natural for them to do. It's part of life. Whereas for us, there's a whole like, I just feel a bit of a twat doing this. Do you know what I mean? But you have to be so careful with Instagram, because if you become too salesy every single post, then people just switch off.
Yeah.
I suppose what happened for me was at the end of 2023, going into 24, I think I was like just over 15 stone. But I trained, like pushed weights and stuff like that. But I was 38, just about to turn 39 in February. And I was like, right, this gives me a year and a bit runway here to be the fittest I've ever been at 40, basically. And there's put loads of Instagram accounts out there that you'll see that you start following the person and they've just been ripped their whole life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's demoralising. You're like, fuck it up.
So I was like, well, let's just start today, and people can follow along with the journey, and then they can look back and see that, I wasn't, there's been a process to this. And so that was January the 1st, 2024. So
that's just over a year ago.
Also, no, that's when I decided to this journey to being as fit as I can at 40, but I wasn't posting every single day. I was just maybe the odd picture of me in my gym now and again. But what I was doing off camera was pushing weights. My problem was I've always been good at training, but I've got better at eating as I've got older as well. And my problem is the 8 o'clock sweet cravings come into play, and
bar of dairy milk and
Galaxy dairy milk, whatever. I could sniff it through the packets, calling me through the calling me from the cupboards.
That's tough though.
It is.
So, you've had your dinner, the kids are in bed, it's 8 o'clock, TV's on.
It is, and when you get into your fitness, you do realise that you can train as much as you like, but if your food isn't dialed in, then there's going to be no change. You'll get stronger, but you're not gonna look any better. And then I stumbled across a lad on Instagram called Kyan Fit, who's this Welsh lad who, again, he only had like 4,000 followers when I started following him. And he said, here's everything I ate yesterday, or whatever his thing was. And I was fascinated by it, and I'd watch the whole thing all the way through. And we're talking like a minute long thing, which nowadays in social media
is crazy long, right? For social media.
It's crazy long. So I kind of took inspiration from him about, he's doing this and it's holding him accountable. And I was like, I need to do this to hold myself accountable. If this is just me journaling every day for my own benefit, it keeps me on the straight and narrow. And June the 9th, I changed my Instagram handle from Kelbs85 to Paul Kelbie, and I made an announcement. Took a screenshot of it as well, so I've got it forever. Saying, right, from tomorrow, I'm going to start changing up my social media. You're going to see a lot more of like what I train and eat every single day. And you're going to follow me on my journey. You can either follow or not follow. I don't care. I'm doing it for me. And see if I can get to as fit as I can be at 40 years of age. And I went from 3,000 to like nothing happened for the first. I was posting every day, nothing really happening. And then out of the blue one day, I started getting loads of follows, and I was like, well, what's this from? And you can click on Instagram and it says started following you from a reel. So I was clicking on a reel, and it was from a reel that I posted a few weeks beforehand. So this is a good thing to kind of say to people: don't delete a reel thinking that it's crap. Because this was a prime example that it just took a while for maybe the right person to like it, who follows me, to then open it up to their audience, and then it just started snowballing. And then after 6 weeks of me starting this daily posting of everything I trained and ate yesterday, I went from 3,000 to 5,000 followers in 6 weeks, and then I went from 5,000 to 10,000 followers in 11 days, and then I went on holiday, but I was sharing every day. And I think...
Were you training every day?
I was training every day. I went away for 10 days, I think. And I think I trained like 7 times.
Right.
So every day, every other day. But I was getting lots of steps in and stuff like that whilst I was on holiday. And I think because I was showing that just because you're going on an all-inclusive holiday doesn't mean you just absolutely smash it, or
Yeah.
you can smash it,
Yeah.
but get up and move and do some stuff. And yeah, I went from 10,000 followers to 20,000 followers in the time that I was on holiday, basically. And probably like what you were saying there, like you haven't got an excuse. And you do realise, like when you're on holiday, like you got kids, they weren't getting up till 7 o'clock in the morning, and a holiday can be active and healthy. But so I was showing that I was getting up early, going for a run around the hotel, doing early morning swims, doing like a meditation on the beach, and then but then going to the buffet and smashing
Killing it. Yeah.
But people liked that because I was being real. I wasn't one of these influencers that was just going, right, you can only have 3 eggs and a bit of meat and all this veg. I was destroying it. I was going out 3 or 4 times, but it was resonating with people because it was real. I wasn't trying to be like say one thing and doing anything else.
Yeah.
And if I was having a few cocktails, I'd share. There you go. I had a few cocktails, but I showed that I was just showing people that look, you don't have to be this extreme. Social media is like one or the other. It's extreme or like or it's the other way. And I was showing that look, you can have a few beers, you can eat what you want. So yeah, that struck. It kind of plateaued then. I think between September and December, I got up to 29,000 followers, and it's plateaued there for the last 2 or 3 months. But
you've kept going though.
Every day.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think the challenge for people about starting on social media and also about continuing is it's when you're not getting that positive affirmation of likes and comments and or for you probably radical follower growth. Because for most people it's like, oh, I've had loads, I've gone viral, great, I'm going to do another one. How do you keep yourself, I mean, do you find it easy to keep yourself motivated because of the success you've had so far? And actually, as an extension to that question, I'd love to understand, like, what has happened as a direct result of that?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'd love to know.
Look, I suppose because of my recruitment background, and you'll have heard this, motivation's bullshit. Motivation is like flash in the pan sort of stuff. It's discipline. When you got discipline, that's the game changer. So for me, like what I'm doing, because it's not overproduced.
Yeah.
It's me grabbing my phone and right, there you go. I film what I'm about to eat. It's not like I'm setting this all up and getting the perfect light. It's very rough. It's me waking up, drinking a glass of water that's got a load of salt in it.
I love
for hydration. The little wink.
The little
afterwards.
wink, mate.
And then I'm literally, it's stuff that I'm doing anyway. So it's not like I'm having to put this all together. It's right, I'm going about my daily job, but it keeps me disciplined.
Yeah.
And then I have a whole routine now that I get my daughter down at about 7 o'clock whilst I've got her on my shoulder in her dark room. As soon as she falls asleep, I start putting my reel together, which I've managed to nail down in about 20 minutes now. So it's everything from the day before. And then I record the voiceover. Well, I think when I first started it, I was trying to do the voiceover all in one take, but then you have a lot of R's and lots of ums. And then I was like, right, cut it down nice and short and little short clips that keeps people interested. But yeah, it's more the discipline. It's part of my daily routine now. Like me waking up and brushing my teeth, me posting and sharing a reel. I have to get it done. So
I love that.
It is just
a job.
It is, yeah.
It's
and
a
like I
task
say,
for the day.
it plateaued at just under 30,000, and then I just kept going every day, and that's how things happen. So it's just keeping at it. And the driver for me is I get a lot of guys reaching out that are dads, and because I start every video saying yes lads and dads. That's my.
How did that happen by osmosis? Or did you stumble across that? Or?
No, so that happened from listening to Kyan. His thing was right boys.
Yeah,
and
so you needed a hook.
I needed a hook, and it was yes lads and dads want to be lads.
Yeah.
And so it kind of I'd like to appeal to not just dads, but lads and dads still want to be lads, and dads are lads at the end of the day. They just got kids. It could have worked, it couldn't have worked, but I just kept going with it. And then I started getting messages going from people that I know going, you never guess what happened today. I was in the gym and one of the blokes walked in going, yes lads and dads. And I was like,
love it.
And he was like, do you follow him? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, that's my mate. And but yeah, I get a lot of messages from guys just saying, I'm so glad I've stumbled across your page, because there's either people walking down shopping aisles like cursing every food, and it's causing more of a problem than doing good, like slating like this food's bad for you, that food's good for you, and people, it's just so confusing out there. Whereas I'm just trying to get across like, look, stay fit, stay healthy. Like I lost my dad, like I said, when I was 19, and he was 57, and if that was just the same to happen to me, my dad went from being a 12.5 stone guy at 40 to 17 stone at 57, having a couple of pints every day after work. This stuff compounded, didn't help. He died suddenly on the golf course.
Heart attack?
It was an aneurysm that travelled around his body, and then as soon as it hit his chest.
No signs?
No sign at all.
Tragic.
Went on a golf weekend and didn't come back, basically. So that's kind of my driver. It's like, right, I don't want that to happen to my kids, because I've needed my dad more than anything. That like going for, I was a boy, going into being a man, and I've lost him. I lost him when I needed him most, probably. And I don't want that to happen to my kids, and I don't want that to happen to anyone else's kids. And that's the kind of message that I'm trying to get across is, look, if you are a bigger person now and it's taken you, and a lot of the people are like, oh, it's happened since the pandemic. That's 5 years. If you carry on that compounded route, if that's what you've done in 5 years, imagine where you're going to be in 20 years. So you need to break that chain and fall in love with fitness or just doing your daily steps or whatever.
It's an amazing story. It's epic that you've started at the age you started at.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For a lot of people, they think I'm just too old.
Yeah.
You know, it's a 19-year-old, 20-year-old thing. But I think it's, like you say, there's an audience of people out there looking for content that they associate and, that they identify with.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't identify with an 18-year-old who's, who's got a 12 pack, and he's, because I've got 2 kids and a couple of businesses that are keeping me busy.
Yeah.
But I think, like, for you, I look at you and I think, oh, he's got 2 kids. Oh, he's an entrepreneur. He's got his own businesses and he's still getting it done.
Yeah.
Actually, my internal dialogue that says that they're different, that's bombed out now.
I think when like a lot of people use their kids as an excuse, whereas actually they should be the driver.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But what we do is we say, but when he's 5, then I'm going to get on it. When he goes to school, then all this is going to change. Yeah. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And obviously that year comes and goes and nothing changes. And then something else, and then it's the next milestone. Then tomorrow I'll start.
Yeah. So people do, like, they'll message me going, look, I think when people first follow me, before, because I wasn't really including my kids in any of the videos, it was mainly just what I was doing, but I've now brought them into it a little bit to kind of show that, I have got a family. But before, people were like, but I've got 2 kids, like 3 kids, like, when do you get the chance to do this? And I was like, look, kids sleep.
Yeah.
Like let's, you can get up before them, or go for a run when they're asleep. You can do it. You're just making excuses. I haven't got the time. All right, cool. You haven't got the time. Oh, by the way, what series are you watching on Netflix? Oh, I'm watching Yellowstone. Oh, are you? Would you watch, like, how many episodes do you like to watch at a time? Oh, 2 at least.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have got time. You're just picking what you want to spend your time on.
That's it.
Because I don't want people cutting out foods that they enjoy or missing out on moments that they would normally. Like, one of the biggest reels that blew up for me was I went to a wedding and I got smashed, but I showed every single, from every canapé that I ate to every beer, every glass of wine.
I remember that.
You remember that?
And because I look out for your content, right? And you were drinking wine. I think you were at a G&T or whatever. And I was like, and even now I see you smashing a chicken wrap, a McDonald's or whatever, a curry.
Yep.
And I'm like, this guy, he's basically doing what I'm doing, except not ridiculous like I am, and he's getting some fitness in, so he doesn't feel like shit when he's actually in the process of doing it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what kills people, is they get their Indian, they eat it, and then afterwards they go, oh fuck, I've done it again.
Yeah, and they hit the fuck it button.
Exactly.
And
I've come this far, so let's smash a bag of M&Ms and a...
Yeah, how I say is, look, if you got a calendar in front of you, tick off 3 red crosses, 4 red crosses out of 31 isn't going to change much.
Yeah.
But if a red cross then turns into, like, as you're crossing off the days, or a green tick, you want more green ticks than you want red crosses at the end of the day. So just make sure there's not more than 2 red crosses next to each other.
Which is a fair, it's simple, right?
Yeah.
Simple. So look, I guess I'd love to finish on Incentifi.
Yes.
Because I think it's an amazing idea, and I feel like exactly as we've articulated, there's a real place for it in the world.
Yeah.
So if I'm out there listening to this podcast, who's your ICP? Who's a customer that's going to use Incentifi and go, this is the best money I've spent this year? Who's your target market?
Route to market, believe it or not, will be through the companies that I know, recruitment companies. Because within the app, there's like leaderboards and stuff like that, which sales companies love, right? So ideally for us, probably will be your small to medium sized companies. Enterprise businesses, they take longer. There's more compliance around them. They want to see that you've got like a year's financial history and stuff like that. So our route to market will be through small to medium sized companies. But we're hopefully going to get some key investors on. We've got a few people that own recruitment businesses on board already. Ben Broughton from
very successful guy
from Primus. He was one of the first people I spoke to about it last year, and he said, "I am in. I want our company using this."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Go and get an MVP built." Then I went and met him a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "Yep, this is great. I'm in." So
perfect.
He's an early investor. A couple of other guys as well. Look, because of our product being travel, everyone loves travel. So in terms of what industry are we going after, recruitment will be an industry that I target first because it's who I know and what I know. And recruitment, we're going to have a brilliant like referral scheme in there as well. That look, like I said, recruiters are resourceful. If a recruiter refers Incentifi to a company and then they come on, we'll reward that person.
Yeah. So obviously it's obviously a platform for health and wellness. And what does the future look like? I guess from this moment on, it sounds like you're raising money. Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah. So we're SEIS assured.
SEIS, love that. Everyone's interested in a bit of SEIS.
Yeah. So the benefits for early investors are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I suppose the good thing about us as well is that a lot of these SEIS assured companies, you don't see any revenue from them for a few years. But with ours, because we're going straight into B2B to C market, you'll start seeing revenue straight away. So how does it look for us? We're having the product being built at the moment. Probably take 3 months for it to be at a level that we can launch.
Yeah.
A few of the investors have their own companies, which is a dream for us because we can use their companies as testing market straight away. What we're going to be doing is simultaneously raising the next bit of money as well, whilst as we grow, because like every company that I'm speaking to about this is like, we want it.
We're in,
So once it's built, we'll have it. And it just does make perfect sense because a lot of these other perk platforms or discount platforms or whatever, the inventory of stuff that they give you is a choice of whatever they put in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas with us, we're plugging straight into a choice of 3 million different hotels across the world. It's so personalized.
Yeah.
It's not like, right, there you go, there's an inventory of crap that people can't sell. This is right, you want to go to the Jumeirah Beach Hotel? There you go, you book the Jumeirah Beach Hotel. So it's so personalised to people. It's a really exciting journey. It's a really exciting journey and so different to recruitment. With recruitment, you can have a phone, you can have a computer, you can start making money. Whereas with this, we've got the idea, you have to have deep pockets to start off with to get something going.
Yeah.
And so next stages for us are, we've got a skeleton team in place ready to go, but these guys aren't cheap people. It's getting some traction first and then bringing those people over from being, I suppose, like on a consultant base to actually coming on full time. So it's an exciting time.
Amazing, man. Well, look, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a real pleasure to spend some time together. It sounds like it's a crazy time in the life of Paul Kelbie right now.
It is. It's exciting. It's fast.
I wish you every success for it.
I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.